you just have built really good relationships with people who can actually execute across a lot of functions. So I just wanted to throw that out there as well to say, like, don't be so overwhelmed. Everything that you and I have talked about, it's 2024 in a highly connected world. This is all within reach.
Hey, everybody, welcome back. High Voltage Business Builders Podcast. It's Neil here. Remember, like, share, comment, help us beat big tech at their own game, as they love to, sometimes stop us from trying to get the message out. So I always appreciate you guys when you get in your comment and talk about what's going on any channel you can find us. Today, I got a guest that we're going to be talking about product development and business and entrepreneurialism. And I don't know, what else do we want to talk about today? Chris, what's on your heart, man?
Well, I'd say let's talk about selling businesses as well, man. Let's talk about selling companies and selling companies for the most optimized sale transaction that you can possibly get for your asset that you have built with blood, sweat, and tears.
Sweat and tears. At least blood, sweat, and tears. Usually, maybe an arm or a leg too, depending on how battle hardened you are.
It just depends. It depends on the channel as well.
A channel. Okay, so which channel do you think is going to be the most difficult? What in your mind are you?
Oh man, that's a fun conversation. I'm gonna this is gonna be controversial, I think, to your audience, but I'm gonna squarely put. I would say, actually, you know what, man? I could argue every single channel.
Every channel has its trouble. Yes.
Right now, getting into retail is extremely difficult.
Yeah,
No
I was going to say some of the more obvious ones that are harder. Retail has always been a tough nut to crack. I mean, when you get out there and it's like, you feel like you're going great, and it seems like retail is the holy grail of everything you tried to brand and culminate past anything online, which is ironic because everybody wants to go online backwards to retail. It's like, well, retail is where online is going. So the reverse problem. And like, well, yeah, here we need 250,000 units of your product to test mark in 5 or 10 or 20 locations. And then if it doesn't sell, you get it all back your host.
Well, and that's what makes it difficult, right? Because we're going to make you take it back. You have to avoid that. So how do you avoid that? Well, it takes a really incredible marketing activation plan along with really great visual merchandising. And oh, by the way, you can't just be like, oh, cool, I got into Meijer, I got into Kroger, I got into Harris Teeter, I got into Target, Walmart, whatever. You better have your ducks, geese, mice, sheep, dogs all in a row. No question.
You don't do the finances correctly. That's a big part of this, right? I mean, people think about the whole strategy and you got number one, if I told you there's a 250,000, it could be 50,000, it could be 500, it could be whatever they demand as part of the agreement for you to open that channel, which means you may be limited from your ability to even get into the channel that you think and hope and dream might be so cool to get to. But once it's out there, it's kind of like you have to manage that. I know a guy who went out and stuck his products on a very large email-based list of deals, let's just say. And they blew through his inventory and he didn't do the numbers correctly. And it ended up costing him over $150,000, costing him $150,000 to fulfill all the orders.
Yep, that's right. No, every function is firing on all cylinders. Let's put it that way. I mean, it even goes down to, okay, cool, you got into Target. Now what?
Right.
I mean, you can't hack your way
to magically show up.
Well, right? and I think that's a little bit of the difference, right? So like Amazon, I'd say, and it's getting diluted now, but let's just call it 5 years ago, I could hack my way into but heavily persuading someone to buy my product. I could put myself
like that,
very much in front of whoever I want very quickly and faster than my competitor.
Yeah.
And that's obviously diluted. I'd say on direct to consumer, that just is more about impressions, period.
It's really
sure I'm everywhere.
Yep.
Retail, I got even playing field. So how are you going to make this consumer convert? Yeah. Obviously, everything has to play together. So they've got to be able to see that you've got a real presence. And that kind of ties into a bit of what you said earlier, which is the conversation you and I have had before.
Yeah.
You're a consumer products brand. So what are you doing to make your product convert? What are you doing to make your product, whether it's innovation, whether it's solving a problem, which typically is tied to innovation, or it's got to be what is making the consumer, especially on shelf and just really basically anywhere now, because everything is crowded. There's so much noise now.
Yeah, there is a lot of noise, and differentiation is getting a little bit tough because there's so many knockoffs and so many other brand competitions. And really, it's just in the end, it's strength and perseverance. It's tenacity. It's staying in the game longer than the other guy is willing to stay. And then product will shine when moments of luck and opportunity present themselves. The longer you've literally persevered, you can create this really cool, innovative thing. And I think that's what a lot of people get stuck in their mind. And we still deal with this and we talk about it continuously. We're kind of caught up in that, Elon Musk Shark Tank, if you build it, they will come Iowa cornfield mindset. And it's like, you have to have this super holistically unique idea where you're never going to make a business, make product, have fun, enjoy your life, and all your hopes and dreams and, your Lambo lifestyle is going to occur. And that's actually not true. In my time, I've personally, and you can tell me yours, discovered that it just takes a matter of tenacity and time and a willingness to keep innovation changing until certain things could occur. Like I might discover, hey, that's a change I could make to a product I know is selling, and now I could get a utility design patent. Oh, if I put that on there, all of a sudden I can shake down some competition a little bit if I wanted to, or differentiate myself all of a sudden enough to know I have IP and the collateral to go after it. What are your thoughts on all that?
I mean, I totally agree. I would say, if taking a couple steps back from that, I would say you have to be really, really good at building brand now. If you want to be an asset, so I'm thinking about it from a backdrop of, I want to make this thing into a very valuable asset. That's how I'm always thinking about something.
Of course,
right? Like as far as brand,
asset,
right?
Yep, all the way through the
because by the way, there are nuances to this. Like, so for instance, if I just really want cash flow, I'm probably thinking very differently, like
very short term.
As short term as I'm driving to TJ Maxx right now, and I'm going to go buy a bunch of
flip products. I'm shopping my way to
flip product.
Absolutely,
yeah. Or I'm going to go contact every distributor in the pet space that I can get my hands on, and I'm going to develop a thing that's going to allow me to just API and push product everywhere through
thousands of them. Yeah, just
thousands of
spamming shotguns.
And all I'm trying to do is I'm basically looking at penny profit at that point, but I'm all about cash flow. So
volume. Yeah,
there are, and by the way, there are also like the whole idea, and I know that this is a bit more prevalent inside the Amazon seller space, which is, I'm going to go to Alibaba, I'm going to go to the Canton Fair, I'm going to find something that I think is like more or less white space, keyword trending, and I'm going to try and hack my way into first page. I'm going to hack my way into driving as much volume, and then I'm on to the next thing. So as soon as that thing trends down and dies, then I'm going to Frogger my way into the next thing. Cool, that's cash flow. Take the cash, go buy real estate. That's awesome. You want to build a brand. You want to build a brand. That's a completely different mindset. You've got to really think of things totally differently.
Because you and I are very much on the same page about this, as you know. And so what we talk about is obviously building that saleable asset is building intrinsic value. And the only way to do that and to shift away from true saturation, which everybody gets caught up in the idea of saturation as a product. And we got to remind ourselves, yes, products get saturated, that we avoid saturation from the beginning by trying to innovate away from the white space or the Me Too products, as you've astutely said, to move ourselves into a brand differentiation position, which of course takes time. But what does that actually mean when you say building a brand to you? What does that actually mean when you get a saleable asset in place as a brand that doesn't saturate versus products that do saturate?
Yeah, it's a couple of things. I mean, look, you can boil things down and say, we've got a client in the baby carrier space. So you can say, well, you just sell a baby carrier. You're just like everybody else. Yeah, but the difference is, number one, they first started with brand. They built the brand into a community, something that represented something. And they made sure that their messaging and their content and their communication represented the brand promise that they were looking to fulfill, right? Yeah. We want to make the time that you bond with your baby as precious as possible, in the nicest linen, the nicest fabric, and we want to make you look really good doing it, right?
Yeah.
I've got a brand promise, which, by the way, that can also carry over into product range extensions as well as other categories.
Yeah, we'll unpack that.
Makes sense.
Yep.
It can, and it definitely should. So I've got my brand promise, and now I'm going to start thinking about my product development in a much more thoughtful way, right?
Yep.
There's actual fundamentals and there's technicals to product development.
Yep.
And then there's also just, what am I going to do to continue to differentiate myself against the competitive landscape? So like, what I mean by technicals and fundamentals, what problem am I looking to solve? Can I try and solve a problem that's much better than, say, the competitor? In this particular case, yes, they did. They analyzed the way that the function of a baby carrier, and they made sure that they thought about the mother every single step of the way. Right now, you could say caregiver in the year 2024, whatever.
We can still say mother on this channel.
Okay, good. So you're thinking about the parent, and you're thinking about all of the thought process the consumer's going through when it comes to that product. Okay, cool. Mm-hmm. Now you're going to start solving for even small nuances. And it's funny, even down to, I had the privilege of working in companies that were very product development heavy, especially in the baby product space. These are very product development heavy. It's a very product development heavy industry. I had a mentor who he ran a Chinese factory for some of the largest baby brands. You know, he was an EVP of some of the largest baby product companies, very heavy in product development. He would always also say, devil is in the details. And I think that's also something you've got to be very conscientious of when you're thinking about the product as it relates to your brand. What does that mean?
Yeah.
It means every touch point. It means the zipper and how it feels on your fingertips. It's about every single way that the consumer is going to interact with your brand, down to the packaging. This particular packaging for this client I'm talking about, it looks like Apple packaging. It's beautiful.
And they set the standard. Everybody loves to see that Apple standard.
I know, but it's so
charging ridiculous amounts.
But they're so good at it, and there's so many other brands that are really good. But that
feel good about your purchase before you even.
Well, because yes, exactly.
Packaging, I get it. It's impressive.
And I followed them on Instagram, and they look a lot like what I go through. They share with me. They share with me on social media the struggles I go through, and it makes me feel very connected. They're reaching out to me. They're talking to me.
Yeah.
But what they're not doing is they're not used car salesmen trying to just sell me this commodity that I probably don't need anyways, right? So brand building, and we're boiling this down to try and make it as simple as possible. Brand building is stinking hard, man. It's not easy. And so that's what I also want to, I would say, differentiate, which is the things we talked about earlier. Okay, man, those are great business models. So I'm not here to poo-poo on any business model whatsoever. But if you want to choose this path, this is not easy.
No.
This is a harder path.
Well, of course, it's a harder path, but also in the opportunity cost, it is a much greater reward in the end. We talk about selling the business and having a saleable asset.
That's right.
When you build something with intrinsic value that's worth something to someone else, where you put your blood, sweat, time, energy, attention, tears, maybe you sacrifice your firstborn kid to it. I don't agree to that. Just always put that on translation so YouTube doesn't give me a content strike. That's for educational and entertainment purposes only. The long story short is this is a vacation Bible school. That's right. Right. You have to push this through to the this is a VBS episode of the podcast. You have to push this through to a real understanding that branding is a process, and it's not like the end result. It is a continuing process, evolving. Even if you don't understand what it means right now listening to this podcast, but you do understand brands because you are a consumer, and whether you like it or not, you prefer certain brands or other. Maybe you don't want to be seen that way because it feels materialistic or whatever, because you prefer the BMW over the Lexus or the Toyota over the Camry or whatever it is, or Androids suck and all iPhones rock. So we can create all kinds of contention by throwing brand against people's brain. But the end result is a process, because no one truly is a brand expert. They are brand discovery experts. They are process experts. They are looking at opportunities to continue. You talked about product R&D. That's a always evolving, always changing state of
absolutely
continuing to move. And you can't, here's the problem with that, right? And I think a lot of people hear that and they're like, crap, I don't even know where to start with the product. The R&D, what does that even, it's research and development for those of you. It's like, what does that even mean? It means that you're in a process, right? It's not like you're going to start somewhere, right? Well, we usually get it on a brand new brand. We're going to start first with sales fixes everything, which means if I can first prove that the product can sell and I can sell it, then my opportunity is not if I start branding and looking at brand as a process and a narrative and a construction of emotional connectivity. It is that when I do it along the process, right? If I can sell it, then I can prove that I can sell more of it through establishing differentiation, which is a process of branding, is it not?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a process of branding. It's also, I'm building a community and I'm building people who really trust what I have to offer. And they really like what I have to not only say to them about this particular solution or product or the way it makes them feel, but they want more from me.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so crucial that you're always thinking through that product development piece. I mean, look, you walk into a P&G and a Unilever, they're going to whip out their, I know I'm talking about big people, but like there's a lot of really great brands all the way down to doing 10 million a year up to doing several billion a year, that when their product development conscientious or brand conscientious, you walk into their building and they're going to hand you a 3-year roadmap. They're already thinking about 2027, 2028. And oh, by the way, not only that, but they're thinking about, where am I putting this on shelf? How am I talking to the consumer about this? How is this new product in this new extension, how is it going to play really well with this? Am I going to cannibalize this? Am I going to go ahead and actually cannibalize this product and reintroduce a new product, to your point, because I've got a utility and it's better. It's a new iteration. I mean, I used to do this all the time. We would go visit our factories and it was all about Gen 1 to Gen 2 to Gen 3. Cars do this every day, all day, right?
All the time they're innovating, right? Cell phones are innovating. Everything's in computers are innovation. Everything.
Every single iteration. And so it's if we were to conceptualize, because you're right, sometimes it can get really overwhelming for somebody to go, I don't know what to do. You just made me handicapped. Thank you. It's like, well, wait a second.
I feel stupider for having listened to this.
Yeah, let's conceptualize this.
Yeah.
It's really just trying to be very thorough, thoughtful, and sequential about the way you're approaching. Mm-hmm. Yes, I've created product, to your point. I've created something that brings, that milkshake brings all the boys to the yard, right? Great. Awesome. Now let's think about milkshake version 2 and milkshake version 3.
Well, and it's a process. Again, process 1, 2, 3, right?
Always.
We prove we can sell, then we innovate differentiation and customization to work both the way. We upgrade our packaging, because even then, if the product stays the same, the packaging can very much increase the value of the product. We've done this before by taking products that are kind of slowing down or not differentiating in the market. We can make a single customization and upgrade the packaging, and all of a sudden people will pay $10 and $20 more for the product once they realize the packaging is so much better and the reviews get better. So the perception of the reality is very big. Very big.
It is. And I mean, just to hammer another point on that, the reason why you're even changing packaging, the reason why you probably need to do some type of iterations just across the board is because your feedback loop is really good.
The feedback is
That's
coming in.
That's one of the reasons why it's hard. It's harder to do this through Amazon. It just is, because there's so much gating where it's not simpler or easier. It's easier to do than in Amazon direct to consumer. Retail is retail's gated too.
It's
retail
so hard
on Amazon.
Well, and dated on Amazon is really just a matter of you selling someone else's brand. If you sell your own brand, registered, trademark, et cetera, then the gatings aren't.
Well, what I'm saying is the consumer feedback loop. I can't hear
feedback
anything.
loop can be a little challenging because you got to dissect the 1 stars and the 5 stars, and you got to get down to just what's the 3 and the 4 actually saying, because that's most likely where 80% of the
it's even just like, for instance, we just did an exercise where we did a huge consumer research project for one of our clients, and majority of the data that we got was obviously from the customers.
Yeah.
And we got that because we had 500,000 emails that we could send out this actual a very long one, very thoughtful one. It was, very, I'd say, art and science, but still we were able to reach the consumer who actually purchased the product and get that feedback.
Yeah.
That's where you can start making, and honestly, you know what this has been called from day one? It's called focus groups. It's basically what I'm saying.
It really is.
It's not like anything's new.
But there's ways to get focused and there's ways to capture that demand. And that's one of the things I do like about Amazon, although I don't like a lot of things about it. Of course, I don't like a lot of things about Meta or TikTok, or just goes on the line. You can get the pros and cons. We can align for every freaking platform, right?
Huge.
But Amazon has a demand capture. That's what I really like. What I don't like about it is that it is no longer very good at creating demand awareness.
Yeah,
so
agreed.
It's been trumped by other markets, platforms, social media, TikTok, et cetera, from a brand, awareness side, a brand, not a demand creation, as opposed to just demand.
Yeah, it's discovery.
Discovery is another word.
Discovery versus fulfill. I mean, honestly, at the end of the day, and what I'm about to say could be completely wrecked, I'm sure, by several people, but I think everyone knows I'm right when I say this. Amazon's a fulfillment channel, man.
These are fulfillment channel. This is very well said. And let's clarify that. While I can capture demand, and I can actually capture other people's demand coming on to Amazon that they're not doing a good job of. And that's
because I can arbitrage. Exactly. I can arbitrage
get in
their
front
keywords.
of their traffic, even if they can't. Yeah. Right, I will do it better and capture that demand to millions of dollars. Right. But if you get out into the TikTok shops, Shopify, Omnichannel world, it's the 6th largest logistics chain company in the world.
It's huge.
Embed all of that into the framework and then send it out to those other channels. We go the other direction. So we go to TikTok shops and we connect Amazon, and guess what's getting fulfilled, right? Multi-channel fulfillment is happening. So now we don't have to worry about that. Now they're trying to do their fulfilled by TikTok, and we're going to see how that works. But you can fulfill these other channels, Shopify, et cetera. So now when we have a logistics operation, and really it's kind of a done for you product management, as long as they don't screw up your inventory, hold it too long, or do crappy stuff with it, which they can do. You have an omni-channel distribution. method.
Yep.
Right. You don't have to have Amazon and then a 3PL and then all these other channels of storage and management and operations. We can run very lean by capturing demand on Amazon and then moving into direct to consumer capturing and demand discovery and brand discovery in the other channels. That's why I've liked it really for so many years and all of its trouble and problems that it does have. And some of the things they're creating, I think they're going to have to backpedal on because they're making it extremely ridiculous.
Oh, I just saw, do you know Scott Needham? I don't know if you know him or not.
Sorry.
Yeah, he's just a guy in the Amazon space, really, really, really smart guy. He actually went and dug into the data about Amazon fees, and it has grown 118% more than inflation.
And it's just,
I was like, yeah, that's a good
one
stat.
way to escape that. And I will tell you this right now, as I've said it on my social media, and you can go check it out. Friends don't let friends sell less than $20 products on Amazon.
I preach.
We have moved into the 50 to 200 range 3 to 5 years ago and have stayed at that level of product development continuously. And so a lot of the impact of the fees, the changes in the market and how haven't hit us. In fact, fees have gone down in many ways because of logistics and operations. Kudos and shout out to my partner, Reed, who's extremely good at managing all of that. And it's kept us very lean. And so because of that, we've actually seen our fees go down and market penetration's gone up because the market is shifting and gaps are starting to open up. And every time these things occur, some people get penalized and others see opportunity.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's so true. And you're right. But yeah, I mean, going back, I mean, that's effectively what is happening. I mean, you get hit with an advertisement through Meta, through TikTok, or, mainly Meta if you're going through Instagram, et cetera. And you go, hey, I really like this brand. So where do you go to try and fulfill? You first go to Amazon, see if it's there.
You go brand shop on Amazon and find out if they're legit.
And then what you're really doing is, okay, what's the cost on Amazon? So I'm going to do, what's the trade-off?
How fast can I get it? Do I really trust
it? Can I go to their website and get 20% off?
What if I don't like it? How do I return it? Yeah, you go to his whole thing.
And I wouldn't say it's not a lot in the sense of, oh my gosh, it's just a large swath, but there is it's a big piece of I'll just say large. It is a lot of people who go and they will purchase from Amazon only because
it grows exponentially. So your 25% of 100 sales is very different than 25% of 5,000 sales. So when you see this halo effect, and I'm sure you've experienced it across these channels, right? As they move and shift, and quite often they move we've seen up to 25% spillover back to Amazon from anything done on the paid traffic side.
You nailed it, actually. That's exactly what we're seeing on a beauty brand we've been working with for a while. And they've been on Amazon for about a year and a half now. And basically we're slowly seeing it's hovering around 22 to 25% of just spillover.
Go down on Meta, they shut your account off or some jack thing happens over there. About 3 to 5 days later, you're going to watch your impact come down on Amazon. We had a lady actually move her product very successfully into TikTok shop. Had a couple of videos go viral, and all of a sudden a product brand that's been there for 10 years just chugging along, tripled its sales, then quadrupled its sales. And then she was running out of inventory, and then she was selling products every 5 minutes on TikTok shop. And all of a sudden this thing was just exploding. But we noticed very fast how much her Amazon channel got a lift off of videos. There was a guy who's not mine that I saw in Facebook group a couple of days ago. He just had a post. He's like, what the heck just happened? He goes I'm kind of concerned because we just had all this inventory in FBA, and all of a sudden in the last 2 days, we're getting sales every 7 seconds. We're blowing out of our inventory. We've sent all of our, FBM merchandise out to thing, and we're about to run out of stock, and I don't know what to do. I can't figure out what happened. I'm concerned. And so he came back later, and it turns out, I didn't get a coupon. Nothing got jacked, whatever. And a week later, he comes back. He's like, I figured out what happened. And people were like, well, tell us what happened. What'd you do? What's this amazing thing that just happened? He goes, I noticed that someone's TikTok video went viral for another product on another brand. All right. And it was a TikTok shop video brand, and it had TikTok shops in it. But they went to Amazon and they looked for that brand, and they found his brand and bought his product and just blew his inventory through. And it wasn't even his video.
Well, that's awesome, by the way.
It was a very cool experience. I was like, wow,
that's very cool. Yeah. I mean, even on TikTok, I mean, it's funny because TikTok shops, they'll even tell you what works really well there is about $15 to $20 AOV.
They do really have that. I've got some friends doing 60 or so who are actually doing really well. And what you're noticing in this
starting to creep up.
Yeah, in the last 8 months, what's actually creeping up is the amount of 30-plus-year-olds actually coming on to TikTok is one of the largest growing segments, and they are the ones that have more buying power. And so you're seeing a lot more of that higher priced product starting to move faster and faster. So it's changing because right now it's a little bit of like the drop shipping 2015 on Shopify over.
Yeah, it
Trump,
is.
right?
It is.
And I've actually seen some people
yeah.
pull those products back in. Have you seen this too?
Well, I was just saying, I was just going to say what you're seeing with almost any platform. I mean, think about Instagram 10 years ago. I mean, everything just gets more sophisticated, right?
Yep.
And then, you like, no one wants to sell anything through Snapchat because it's basically a bunch of high school, middle school, and college
Everybody's
kids.
just using it for
it's people that don't have money. And so, of course, as you're seeing the migration
they are
of the actual discretionary income. So yeah, I mean, back to the whole brand conversation and why we care so much about it. It's all about building that valuable asset. And when you're ready to go and you've built something that has got really great fundamentals, it's got, a clear brand promise, brand vision. Yeah. It's got a really great product development
roadmap. Yep.
Roadmap process, et cetera. These are all the things that are going to matter for the private equity fund, for the family office, or the corporate development strategic desk that wants to buy the company.
We just got one on our desk yesterday just to amplify what you're saying and completely agree. And it's a brand that's been established for about 15 years, and it's moving out of Texas because that's predominantly where they were. And it's this great brand in the outdoor space. And they've opened some omnichannels and done some great stuff on the e-commerce and the distribution side, but they're up for sale now. And it looks like a really amazing opportunity for somebody. And
and so that's why it all matters, because if you want to try and optimize the sale of your business, then you've got to be able to show that this can go well past where you've taken it today.
Chris, what are you seeing on the omnichannel? Sorry, not to interrupt. Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, no, I was just going to say the only way that someone can see that vision is you've done the hard work of being able to show them that through your process, to the points that we've been discussing, through your process, through your brand building, yes, this thing has lots of scalability from 20 to 25 up to 100 million plus. That's all they're going to be looking at. So
it's always about the initial growth, because we're going to do, I know a number of people do things very differently, but when we're looking at the acquisition of these companies, it's what can we do and very quickly to impact 2 to 3 years of change, optimization, growth, channel, opening new channels, or optimizing existing channels and stabilizing certain revenue streams to allow time for maturity. And then we're going to flip it to the next group who has more capital.
Basically.
So in your experience, Chris, what are you seeing in the multiples of businesses that have an omni-channel strategy, maybe a 2 or 3 tier or more in terms of platforms and retail, et cetera?
Yeah. And I mean, look, I'm going to layer in a few things because I think it's really important. And the only reason why I know it's important, I just even heard somebody speak about this the other day, a business broker on LinkedIn talking about how important diversification is when it comes to the sale of your business. And I'm like, yes, but if you're just going to leave it there, you're leaving people with just really bad information. So let me layer in a little bit deeper.
Okay.
Omnichannel approach with the right metrics, and I'll take it a step further, the right metrics for scale, it's got all the other elements and fundamentals that we've been discussing on this podcast. It's got real revenue. So, I mean, real revenue is defined above 10 million. Even then, you're still a very small business. So let's even go a step further and say it's a $25 million business. Under 10 million of EBITDA, so you're roughly at 25, you should be around 4 to 5 million of EBITDA, adjusted EBITDA. If you've got something that you can show is highly sustainable for the private equity fund that's either going to take the brand and use it as a platform. So they're going to say, we're not in this industry. This is our first entree into this industry, and you are our platform deal. We're going to build this up and start bolting on other businesses underneath of you, or let's call it a bolt on, because you're at that point, you're also very strategic. At about 4 to 5 million of EBITDA, adjusted EBITDA, you're looking at multiples that will range anywhere between 6 to 9 if you're in consumer products. And it also depends on the category that you've decided to, beauty is highly acquisitive, food and bev is highly acquisitive, supplements is not great.
Yeah.
So, it just depends. And baby products is hit or miss, just depending on the type of category you're in and the type of total addressable market you've been able to penetrate thus far.
Yeah.
Because in baby products, it's a zero-sum game. If I take one sale, I took it from somebody else. There's really no CAGR because the birth rate's going down. So it really is a zero-sum game.
There is, unfortunately, that could factor your
that could be a totally different podcast.
That's a whole other podcast. Yes, they're very dangerous.
So it's very, so it's 6 to 9. If you're over 10 million of EBITDA, that you've put yourself into another bracket. So like, for instance, Honey Pot, big beauty brand, was sold to Compass Holdings, I think late last year or middle of last year. It was over 10 million EBITDA. That got a 13 multiple. So when you're starting to, and like, for instance, Fat Brain Toys was sold to Tomy. That was sold for a 16 multiple. So when you're starting to get into these like really true, like middle market brands that really have the ability to scale into more of an enterprise type of company and get sold to eventually a much larger, say, toy company, or, get sold to, or go public, or get sold to, a much larger, like a P&G or a Unilever, et cetera, there is no discounting involved in the multiple. You're very you build something highly valuable and has tons of longevity to it, and the ability to scale. I can't say that enough. And the ability to scale, like we talked to brands, like for instance, talking to a brand now that is close to $35 million in top line revenue, and bottom line is close to 12 million of EBITDA. And everyone goes, oh my gosh, that's phenomenal. I bet that thing's just going to sell for a crazy amount of money. It probably will sell, but the discounting is they've got a really lean team. And so the next acquirer for the business, it's the first thing they're going to look at. I think you've done a great job, but now I got to scale this. And so what that means is I've got to build this team, which is going to take all of my margins way down. My EBITDA is about to just shrink in half because I got to take half of that into all kinds of things that you weren't doing from a lean perspective.
Now I got to hire, and I've got to go through that process, and I've got to
build a real company
and grow off of. Yeah.
Sticks and stones, man. Like I got to build a real company here. So
but if you're going to acquire as a holding asset, that might be your investment strategy. Some people will be like, hey, that's cool. Keep the lean team, grow it at 5 or 10% every year. And I'm super happy with that as investment. Other people will be like, hey, yeah, I'm going to build this to the next level. And that is too complicated.
Their type of acquirer is thinking what I was saying. Because it's either going to be a strategic purchase and it's a bolt-on, or it's going to be a platform. Yeah. And if you're building out a platform, that's a whole different ballgame. Correct. So anyways, that's effectively the multiples we're seeing. So, and look, I mean, an all Amazon business, let's just call a spade a spade. You're an all Amazon business, your bid went significantly, your pool of buyers went significantly down.
And we've talked about that for many. You're not saying anything that we haven't already preached. You must have an omni-channel opportunity, and Amazon FBA only does a business. We watched that.
Aggregator was your bid.
We yelled about that when people, in the aggregator space, and we're like, look, you got to have an omni-channel, or if you buy an FBA, you must go omni-channel as a part of the upside potential of growing that market, which is we talked about. Otherwise, you've bought a channel. You might as well just buy a, Shopify store with only meta ads. You've bought yourself a channel. It's really no different. One thing goes down and the whole thing collapses. I know people want to argue that, well, Amazon this and this is this and everybody else. It's really easy to hate on Amazon today, right? But in actuality, it's business.
Look, a guy that we both may know. I don't know if you know Ben Leonard or not.
He's a good friend of mine.
So Ben has been saying this since day one. He's like, look, man, Amazon's a sales channel. And I'm like, yes, that's how, like, from my background in consumer products, we never saw one thing as the end all. We saw Walmart, we saw Target, we saw Sears, Kmart, Meijer, Amazon, Wayfair, diapers.com. We saw them all as these individual channels, not like, all oh my gosh, this is it.
Actual brand. Yeah. And that was very, very good. Channel. Dude, that's just a good takeaway from this, because that is the thing we talk, the thing we preach, where you get started and people are kind of overwhelmed with the idea, well, I'm just starting on one sales channel. That's okay. Focus on one channel until you make it successful, but must be ready to prepare to move to another channel as your overarching strategy. You must 100% into one. We like to go to TikTok shops immediately now because it's that brand discovery we talked about can happen.
That is discovery. 100%.
And they are going to Amazon. They aren't going to Shopify. They aren't going back to Meta. They're going from TikTok shops to Amazon. So the connectivity, the searches on TikTok shop. Okay, if you find your brand on TikTok shop and you're not there, you got to get on there.
Yeah, totally, man. 100%.
You go search your product on Amazon and it's not there, someone else is going to find your product when the spillover happens. I'm just warning you if you're not paying attention to this.
I'm only like even hesitating because I can't get this out fast enough. Sure. The amount of times we've told, like, we've got this one brand we were talking to, and they were just so adamant against Amazon, and we showed them all the branded keywords that people were just stealing. We're like, you were literally just giving away. Yeah. These guys were genuinely giving away close to $10 million worth of sales on Amazon a year.
We call that found money in our world. Found money.
It's like finding quarters in the couch, man.
But it's already there. That's where that
quarters.
demand capture Amazon.
I know.
Immediately
That's my point.
The whole opportunity is captured.
Well, and
they're good at capturing that demand. Guys, there's 8,600 units a minute.
Yeah, well, well, and you'll appreciate this, and we can get off of this, but you'll appreciate this because they're like, their counter argument was like, well, they'll just go back to my website and buy from me. I'm like,
no, that's not.
That is the more of a wild assumption than anything my 11-year-old daughter.
It's a wild assumption and not statistically proven. Actually,
at all.
They go the other direction.
They stay there.
Your ads
and they go
marketing and their Go platform. Yep.
Well, yeah, and they go, oh, well, I was sold on this brand. Now, actually, I saw this
little fit 5% discount
one
code, or I saw that.
Now, look, I will say, going back to what I originally said, if you're already sold, yeah, you may go back because you're sold on the brand. So it is what it is. But all I'm saying, and I think what you're saying too, is why even give someone an opportunity to see what your competitor is offering and you're not there? Why would you do that?
It's either lazy or ignorant, or I'm going to go with the willfully stupid, because you simply know the knowledge, you understand the knowledge, and then you lack to accept it. You just don't want to accept it.
I think that's where you don't die on a mountain when it comes to a sales channel. I think the idea now in 2024 is I got to get as many impressions as possible.
Everywhere. I need to be seen everywhere.
Everywhere I can.
As I can.
I've got to stream Anyways, go ahead. I can talk about this for days.
I just realized we're going to be here for another hour, dude. I love talking.
No, we got to go. Yeah, we got to.
But I want
we should wrap up.
You and I could just jam on this. People are like, oh
man.
my gosh, my head's already exploding from the first 35 minutes of this call.
I know. I know.
All right, but if there's a question I didn't ask you already, or something you wanted to say that it didn't say, go. What was that question?
No, I was just No, I don't think so, man. I think this is good. I mean, I would just say to your audience too, if there's just if questions have popped up, obviously, Neil, this is what you do day in, day out. And for us, we work with brands and get them prepared to have an optimized transaction, optimized sale. And we don't just say that. We don't do exit preparation. No, we actually dig in and become part of your team to help steer the ship towards your goal. What is your goal for the transaction? Now let's steer every function towards that goal. And that's not an easy task to do. But I'm just going to say to your audience, if there's any questions that popped up in their mind, we love to be altruistic, man. So send them our way. We're always happy. And if there's resources that are needed, across any function, I'm going to coin this phrase. We see past the pitch, just like you. Like when you get into a company, you see past the pitch of the service provider. Correct. And over time, you just have built really good relationships with people who can actually execute across a lot of functions. So I just wanted to throw that out there as well to say, don't be so overwhelmed. Everything that you and I have talked about, it's 2024 in a highly connected world. This is all within reach. This isn't Mad Men. We're not in the Don Draper era.
No, because it's moving fast. That's what
it
really
is. It is
so fast because you can create an 8-figure business in 3 years now that you could never do in past history. Not even in the last 3 to 5 years. Can you move as fast as you can today? And it's just moving faster. So we always like to say the opportunity begins at the end of your excuses, right? There are no excuses for not going omnichannel on an e-commerce brand.
Agreed. So
if there was someone I could introduce you to in my network and the history of histories, or someone I had the opportunity to connect you with, have lunch and just have a chat, who would that person be?
Like anybody ever? Like
anybody that I could be just hypothetically, Abraham Lincoln or Elon Musk, or
who would I have? Dude,
somebody said Andre 3000 one time.
That's awesome. Who would I have? God, who would I have lunch with?
Yeah, who would you want to talk to? It might even be possible if they're alive. They may be, 6 degrees of separation. Yeah. We'll tag them in the comments.
I think I would probably want to have lunch with P.T. Barnum.
We love The Greatest Showman in our house. I have 5 women in my house. So when this Greatest Showman comes on, it's like everybody grabs the popcorn and goes crazy, right? It's just a beautiful story too.
Yes. But he was like, he knew how to sell, man. And he just knew how to get people to what he was doing. So to me, that's where I would love to just understand how do you think about, even in the early 1900s, late 1800s, how'd you think about the consumer? I would just love to understand, where did the idea come from? Because the principles of how he got people to his circus is still the same principle about how you get people to purchase from your brand.
To the circus of 2024.
Exactly.
It really is.
I don't know.
Circus, isn't it?
I'm just trying to think like, yeah, I mean, sure. Like, okay, Steve Jobs, whatever. I mean, he spoke.
I mean, that's cool. No hate, no shame in the game.
It's like, yeah, but it's like whatever. I'm like, you know what? I'd like to go back and hit. I think you said Abraham Lincoln. I'm like, you know what? P.T. Barnum would be really interesting.
P.T. Barnum is a great answer.
Yeah, man.
I love that answer, man.
Yeah.
That's uniquely Chris. Appreciate you, brother.
Yeah.
So good to have you on.
Yeah, thanks, man. I appreciate the time.
Guys, check it out in the show notes. Like, comment, engage. Even if you say something stupid or hateful, we don't care. Build the algorithm up. Get the visibility out there. Like the comment. If you like the show, great. Let me know. If you love it, then you know what to do on all the channels. You leave videos, leave reviews. We'd love to help out. Guys, thank you so much for listening. Chris, thank you so much for giving us some insight information.
Man.
Guys,
Appreciate
in the
it.
show notes and everywhere else, go check out this episode. We'll check you out on the next one.